So dear students, a very warm good morning to all of you. So today we are going to discuss a new topic in the English language. So I would like to welcome all of you to a new session of the English language class. So as you know, for the class 9th and class 10th, especially for ICSC board, in your language question paper, you have a session to write compositions. And here we are going to see one among the compositions, that is letter writing. You might be knowing there are two different methods of letter writings are there right now. First one is formal, the other one is informal. What is the difference between both? There are a few number of differences between both. In the formal letter, when we talk about formal letter, we are writing is to certain people with whom we need to discuss some official matters. Like we are writing a letter to the collector, or we are writing a letter to the some of the persons whom we do not know, like maybe a letter to the editor, or some official purposes like we are writing a letter to the principal. So in certain cases we will be following strictly official language in the paper, in the letter writing. So that's about the formal letter writing. And at the same time, one more method is there, that is informal letter. Informal letter we will be always using to the people whom we know very well, like our family members or family relatives, our friends. To those people we will be writing or we will be following the method of informal letter writing. So today we are going to discuss about formal way of writing letter. And in this title or under this topic we will be discussing three different points. First one is format. How we have to prepare it. Means when we prepare, what should be the format of a letter in the case of formal letter. Second one is elements. What all things we should be included while we writing a formal letter, like different punctuation marks, then capital letters, inner space, all those things, that breaking into paragraphs. So all those things we will be discussing under the elements. And finally, once we study this both part, then we will go to an example. So once when you come to, or once when you go through the example, you will get a very clear picture about how to write a formal letter. So now let's move to the topic. So basically there are 11 different points which explains about the format of the formal letter. So these are the different 11 points. First one, sender's address, then date, receiver's address, salutation, subject, opening sentence, first paragraph, second paragraph, concluding sentence, subscription, and finally signature. So these are the different 11 points which we need to take care while we prepare a formal letter. So let's see all these points one by one in detail. So first one we will be discussing about sender's address. Sender. Suppose if you are writing a letter, you are the sender. You are sending this letter to somebody with whom you need to communicate. So it will be your address. Your address you need to mention first when you prepare a formal letter. The following things must be included when you write the address of the sender. House number, then place, district, state, and PIN code. All these five elements you need to mention in different lines. I have seen a number of students are writing after state directly they are writing PIN code. No, it's not the correct way of doing this. You need to mention it in 5 different lines. I hope you got what I meant. Okay, so let's see one example. So see, when you write the address of the sender, there shall be no punctuations. I hope you know what is punctuation marks. So when you prepare a formal letter, you are not supposed to use punctuation marks. Let's see an example. See, 23 Babi, then San Francisco Nagar, Siddharth Nagar, Uttar Pradesh, 272-584. See, this is the model of the address. Here we haven't used any kinds of punctuation marks, comma, full stop, or apostrophes. We haven't used any such kinds of punctuation marks because it is strictly prohibited when you write an address. So this is about the sender's address. Now let's move to the next one. That's about mentioning date. We need to mention date when we write a letter. either in formal or informal, wherever we need to mention the date. 4 things must be kept in mind when you write the date. First one, date of near future. Suppose you are writing a letter today, you need to mention a date which is going to come. A future date you need to mention. Please don't mention past dates. So it is strictly instructed that you are not supposed to write a past date. Rather, you need to mention a near future date. Then, first letter of the month should be capital. I have seen in several places. Once when we go through the papers or the notebooks of the students, I have seen in different places students are writing in small letters, especially the beginning or the first letter of a month. It should be written in capital. And the 4th point you need to remember, comma after the month. Let's see one example, then I will explain to you further. See, 10th April 2020. In this case, we can see after the month April, you can see a comma is there. So it's very strictly instructed that there should be comma after the name of the month. Again, you can see A is capital here, the name of the month. It is capital here. So you are also supposed to follow the same thing. The first letter or the name of the month should be capital. Okay, let's see. 10th April 2020, then 1st April 2020, 2nd April 2020, then 3rd April 2020. So see all these different examples. There you get a very clear picture about how to write the date. Okay, so that's about the date. Now we are moving to the 3rd point. That's about receiver's address. Receiver's address. It is an address. From the title itself, you might have got a clear picture about it, about to whom you write the letter. Maybe it can be an editor of a newspaper. You are writing a letter to the collector, or you are writing a letter to your principal. To anybody whom you are writing letter is the receiver's address, the one who received the letter from you. So there you need to mention his designation. If it is principal, you need to mention the principal. If it is manager, you need to mention the manager. What is his designation at that particular profession, you need to mention the designation there. The name of the magazine or news or newspaper, whatever to whom you write. Maybe it is the Indian Express, or you are writing the name, writing to the MD of a channel, or you are writing to the manager of State Bank of India. So you need to mention name of the company, State Bank of India. Okay, or you are writing the New Indian Express. So there you need to mention, soon after the designation of the person, you need to mention the name of the magazine or newspaper or company. Then again, place. A famous location you can mention in the address. Then again, state and pin code. Again, I need to remind you one more thing. You have to mention these 5 different things in 5 different lines. Please don't mix it up. Don't write and make it complete within 3 lines. You go for 5 lines, take enough space and write. Then again, we will see an example for that. See, the manager, the principal, the editor. So these are a few number of examples for the designation. Rest of the things are asked like we have already seen in the previous one. In your address, when we were discussing about the sender's address, I have told you what all things should be taken care. So the same things, but only here we are mentioning only the names just for making you understand what is meant by designation. Okay, so that's about the receiver's address. Now let's see salutation. So soon after the designation, there we need to mention, or there we need to write salutation. How we will address that person. So formal language should be used when we address a person, because each salutation will be indicating to whom you are writing. Anyway, suppose just imagine you are writing a letter to your father. You will never mention like respected sir or something like that. So according to the person whom you write, salutation will be different. Things to be kept in mind, comma at the end. Once you write the salutation, you need to mention comma there. S and M must be capital. I'll explain to you what is meant by S and M. Okay then. For example, dear sir, see, S is capital here. That's what is meant by S. And again, Dear madam, M should be capital. So that's what is meant by S and M must be capital. So first letter already it will be capital, D will be capital, but at the same time second word which we are using to address the person, maybe sir or madam, whatever it is, it should be capital. Then again, fifth one is subject. In a formal letter, definitely we need to mention about what we are going to write in the letter. Suppose you are writing a letter to the chief editor of a newspaper. You need to mention the subject. What is the main reason behind writing the letter? If you are mentioning the subject there, the person who is reading your letter, he will be getting a very clarification in the beginning itself. You are writing about pollution, and he need not to take much time to read the entire matter. But instead, if you are giving the subject there, problem due to pollution, the editor will understand that your subject or the letter itself contains a serious matter. So you need to mention the subject. You need to mention the subject when you write a formal letter. It must be very brief. Don't write 2, 3, 4 lines in the case of subject. It should be very brief, at the same time it should contain a complete sense. Again, must be precise. On the left side of the margin, suppose this is the margin, you need to start it from here. So according to the paper on which you write, you have to make sure where you need to start. Soon after the margin, on the left side of the paper, you have to start writing subject. Then again, full word to be used. Some students are following like these kinds of short forms are not allowed when you write the title. You have to use the full word. That's what I have given there in the bracket. Let's see an example. Subject, requesting for 1 week of leave. So suppose you are writing a letter to the principal for a leave, and there you are mentioning your subject, it is for leave. So there itself the principal will get an idea that you are writing this letter for getting a 1 week leave. And now what is needed? The principal just need to know from when to when. What is the reason? These 3 things only he just need to know. So according to the seriousness of the subject, for the person to whom you are writing the letter, he will get a very clarification from the title itself. That's why it must be brief and it must be precise. It must contain a complete sense when you write the title or the subject of a letter. And again, now the 6th point we are going to discuss is about opening sentence. Now we need to see what all things are coming under opening sentence. Our first sentence should get the impression of the reader. Suppose you are reading a story. Just imagine you are reading a story. You will read the first few lines of the story. If you are not getting interest in the story, will you continue with? Of course not. The same way, if your letter is having a very good opening, the person will definitely look into the problem what you have mentioned in the letter. Or you take the example of a movie. You are watching a movie. If the first half of the movie is not good, will you continue watching? No, of course we will skip it and we will go for some other work. Same way, your first impression should be very good. That means the person who is reading your letter should get an impression to your letter, and your first opening sentence is giving a very good impression to the person whom you are writing or the person who is reading your letter. So let's see what should be the features of an opening sentence. Introduce oneself or your destination. You need not to mention, you need not to go for highly literary language and all. You just introduce yourself or your designation and your designation. That's the only thing needed. There itself you are saying I am so and so, and this is what my designation. I am writing this letter with this particular intention. There itself it is clear. So opening should be in a proper way. And the purpose of your writing. I have already told you for what reason you are writing this letter. It should be mentioned. And again, problem. If it is related to some kinds of like pollution or some traffic jam, or due to the lack of proper drinking water facility, or there is some problem with your drainage in your area. So any problem, if it is problem, you need to mention. So let's see one example. See, I am Aish Chowdhury, President of Sports Club, explaining you the problems faced by the students in the hostel. You are mentioning your name, President of Sports Club, your designation. I am writing this letter to mention about the problems faced by the students in the hostel. This is the opening sentence. Okay, so that's about the sixth point, opening sentence. Now we are breaking the rest of the things into different paragraphs, paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. Let's see, paragraph number 1 or first paragraph. What all things should be included in the first paragraph? For the following features should be there in the first paragraph. It should be clear. You are mentioning something, you should mention it with the maximum perfection. It should be clear. Then precise. Please don't explain like 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. What you are expressing, what you are writing should be very short. Because the person, suppose you are writing to a collector and he do not, or he might not be having half an hour or 1 hour to read your personal or your one particular letter. So make it very short, but it should contain all the major informations. Then minimum 5 sentences that you need to mention about the problem, explain the problem in detail. Okay, so let's move to the next point, and that's about the second paragraph. So we have seen first paragraph, you are making it clear and it will be precise, minimum 5 sentences, and explain the problem in detail. And again, second paragraph, the features, it also should be clear, precise, minimum 5 sentences. According to the subject, you can write it. It doesn't matter. Please don't say that we don't have enough points to explain. Definitely it will be there. According to the subject, you need to mention. Suppose you will take an example like problems related to a drainage system. A broken drainage is there in your area. In the first paragraph, you can mention about what is the problem facing by you. Maybe in the second paragraph, you can mention about personally what difficulties or what problems are you facing. Maybe the drainage is broken in front of your house, and due to that, it is making a lot of disturbance for you and your family, and at the same time for your neighboring houses also. For your neighbors also, it is creating a lot of headache. So you can mention all those things in the second paragraph. Then let's move to the next part, point number 9. That is concluding sentence. It must be of formal tune. So you are presenting your problem to a higher official and you are concluding it with a formal language. Like examples like, we shall be expecting some positive response from your side. I have already mentioned what are my problems. Now I just giving the rest of the responsibilities to that person by saying that I am waiting for your response, because I believe that you will take it as a serious matter. You will respond to this particular problem in a positive manner. So that's about one example. Then one more example we can see. We shall be grateful to you if you would carry out your suggestions. So if you are not taking any action, okay, it's okay, no problem. But at least give us some suggestions. What all things we could do from our side. So all these are indicating to the formal tone. Okay, so that's about the concluding sentence. Now the second last point, that is subscription. You are winding up your letter right now. So you need to wind up your letter with a few number of words like to be used only yours truly. It is the very common formal style of making subscription of your letter. So if it is possible, just try to follow this particular method. Use yours truly. And other features with related to the subscription. Y should be capital. You could see that yours truly, which I have written there. Y is capital there. But T should not be capital. Comma at the end. Okay? Once if you have written yours truly, there should be a comma. Then finally the last point, it is signature. Both parts of your name. You are writing a formal letter, so you need to mention your full name. Your full name, like the example. If your name is Ayush Chaudhary, it must be written as follows: Ayush Chaudhary. Please don't make it short like Ayush or just short like Chaudhary, but you need to mention your full name. There you come to an end to the letter. So these are the basic features, basic elements which we need to mention when you prepare a formal letter. Let's see all these points at a glance, at a paper. See, 236 San Francisco, Siddharth Nagar, Uttar Pradesh, and pin code. It is the address, your address, sender's address. Okay, your address it is. Then again, there comes a space. It is mandatory that you should keep a space after your address. Space should be there. Then again, there comes the date. Okay, see the format of the date, 23rd April 2020. Okay, it is the date. So sender's address, space, then date, again space. So after the address, there should be a space, then again date, then after date again there should be space. Then, to whom you are writing the letter. Okay, see the police commissioner, it is his designation. So you need to mention his designation. It is to receiver's address. Let's see, police commissioner's office, Siddharth Nagar, Uttar Pradesh. Then pin code. It is the receiver's address. To whom you write the letter. Then again, one space is there. Okay, so see the different places where we have kept one line space. After your address, then after the date, then after the receiver's address. So in 3 different places we need to keep one line space. Again. So now salutation, dear sir. It's an official way of addressing a person. So dear sir, it's a salutation. Then again there comes one line space. After salutation, there should be one line space. Then we are mentioning the subject. Whatever the subject you need to mention. Maybe the criminal activities are getting increased in your area and you need to mention something about it. Of course, you can mention it as a subject there. After the subject, again one line space. As I have told you, subject should be written in the full form. Don't write short forms of subject like this. This is wrong. Okay? Instead, you need to mention it in the full form. And it should be begun just after the margin, left side of the paper. Okay? Then again one line space. There comes the opening sentence. Again space. First paragraph. Again space. Second paragraph. Again space. And concluding sentence. So from opening sentence to concluding sentence, it can be called as body of the letter. Body of the letter. Because that word where you are mentioning the entire matter. So that's why it can be called as the body of the letter. Okay, then again, after concluding sentence, again one line space is compulsory. Then yours truly, it is the subscription. Okay, and finally, one line space. There you are writing your name, your full name, and that is being known as signature. So these are the different elements at a glance. This is the format of a formal letter. Now let's move to an example. Here I have given a question. I am posting a letter for you to comprehend better. Okay? So this is the question. Write a letter to the police commissioner of your city, drawing his or her attention to the means of hawkers outside your school. Tell him or her dangerous they pose and offer solutions for their rehabilitation. So this is what is the question. Let's move to the example. See, this is the first page. Okay, so your address, one line space, date, one line space, to whom you are writing, the receiver's address, one line space. Okay, now let's move to the next one. Okay, salutation, there comes the salutation, then again space. Now there comes the subject. I have forgot one particular point which I might have told before. See, subject here. Once when you write the subject, you have to underline it. You are mentioning subject here, then semicolon. You are writing the subject there. What is the matter you need to mention? Once you have done it, you need to underline it. It is very important. Okay, so that's the subject. Then again one line space. Now the first paragraph. You are writing about your designation. Okay, then again, I am the secretary, switch bar clubs and cycle school. So you are mentioning your name, your designation and everything along with the problem. Again one line space. See the first paragraph. Here I am mentioning the rest of the first matters which I have mentioned in the letter. In the first paragraph I have mentioned it. And again one line space after the first paragraph. Now there comes the second paragraph. I am mentioning about the rest of the problems. Okay? Then again one line space is there. Then finally I am concluding my letter. The concluding sentence it is, I trust that you will consider my suggestion and take the necessary steps as outlined in my letter to you to deal with the manage of hawkers outside the school. So this is what is my formal way of conveying what I want to tell. So that's about the concluding sentence. Then again finally one line space. Yours truly, subscription, again one line space and your full name. So this is what is the format of preparing a formal letter. I hope you understood it. So in your textbook you might have already noticed there are a number of questions given there. So just take a few number of questions and you solve it by yourself. Once when you solve it, you will get a better clarification about how to prepare a formal letter. And still if you have some kinds of doubts related to this particular topic, feel free to contact your subject teachers and they will be there to help you. And with this, today I am just going to wind up my class and we will meet again with a new topic in the next class. Still then I am just signing off. Thank you.